everybody. Welcome to Beacons of Balance. And I'm here today with Linda G. and Arlene.
This month's topic we're going to be discussing is energy, because we're all energy. I have some facts that I'm going to just bullet points I'll read off. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only converted from one form of energy to another. This makes perfect sense, right, Linda? Because when we cross over at the end of our lives, everybody is very sad and everything, but we continue on. Our energy continues on in another format, and we could talk about that. So does energy have a beginning? The amount of energy matter in the universe is constant, and it derives from the mysterious, the Big Bang. So there are things in our lives that are just mysteries, right?
Right.
What is it, the Madonna song? Life is a mystery, correct? Energy is the strength, vitality required to sustain physical or mental activity. And energy manifests as motion, sound, and light. The energy for our homes, our automobiles, the machines, and so forth, they come from fuels. Well, where do you think, Linda, where does our human energy come from?
From the realm.
No, from the source of where do we get our energy to sustain and go and do things? It's what we eat, what we like, our food.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Right. And what is energy made of? For scientists, energy not really is a thing. So it isn't made of something else. Energy is more like a capacity. A capacity is an ability to do something. And humans are made of energy. We're all made of energy, of course. In our cells, the basic elements are carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. So what we're going to be discussing this month is human energy. Okay, so for human energy, the first one we have is physical, and that's the quantity of our energy. The second one is the emotional, that's the quality of our energy. The third one is our mental, the focus of our energy, and the fourth is our spiritual, the force of our energy. So today's topic, of course, I gave you the overview of energy, and now we're going to be discussing the physical aspects of our energy.
Well, can I say something that I find very interesting? From my teacher, Eckhart Tolle.
Mm-hmm.
What you put your focus on, if you've had slights in your life, and remember, we have ego. So we build up our ego by identifying ourselves as something separate, which we never are. But when you feed hurts, emotion defines some of your energy. When you feed that emotion with your energy, you build up that hard place that people have a hard time getting over. And it can even make you sick. Yes. So energy is the essence of the God, as far as I'm concerned, or whatever you believe in, Allah or whatever. But energy is something that you want to accumulate very carefully. Like you said, there's also physical energy, but be careful about always being in your head, because that you feed that with energy, and that in turn can define your happiness or unhappiness. Step outside that box for a minute. Nothing outside of yourself will ever make you whole. Nothing.
Correct. We contain it all. We are ourselves, yes. And we're going to be talking on each aspect. So as we tie it in the emotional, because the second one is emotional energy. So for this particular episode, we're just talking on the physical part of our energy. In other words, we're a machine. What keeps us going? There's all the components that tie into it. Our basic need, though, that we need to fuel us, like what fuels our car is gasoline, or else the electricity.
Right.
Now. But what fuels us is our food. If we were depleted of food and water, we wouldn't exist. So we need it, those components. Some people have a good relationship with their families and friends, which makes them feel better, which results in more energy, as you were talking about, your emotional. Other factors are your lifestyle, the environment, and the way of life, the proper diet, and regular sleep and a good attitude. The energy around a person, as I'm sure you're aware of, and you've seen this, is the aura. which is the luminescence body, because we extend beyond this form, and we're spiritual, we're spirits, which we'll get into. That's the last component that we'll be talking about in our 4th episode is spiritual energy. And so you know all about auras. People give off, emit the energy from that. This is a good one, and you could resonate with this one. Physical touch is a very powerful way to share energy, right? What happened in hospitals with newborns, Linda, that were in neonatal and that?
Depended if you had 10 babies or you could have a couple of babies.
But I'm saying a baby, it's known that a baby born
Is responding to the touch.
preemie,
Yeah,
very preemie, and they're not touched.
right.
You know what happens to them?
Well, that's what happened in Russia.
They
Those
don't-
kids that were just left to lay there. Yeah.
Correct.
They all had problems.
They don't thrive.
No.
Yeah. And a lot of those children that are adopted, so they have a lot of issues and problems that go on with
Yes.
them because they haven't been, we need the nurturing, we need that, the touch. I think this world right now, it's so difficult because for teachers and others, you know, you can't touch the children in school. You know, you can't go up really and hug them. I'm sure
No,
that-
not
right?
anymore, especially. Yeah.
You know, that's sad. So
Yeah.
it's like, you know, cutting that, you know?
Because kids with the affectionate teachers wanted to be hugged, but now they can't hug the students.
Right, right. The energy exchange that occurs through physical touch is instantaneous. You know, our thoughts and words have to be, you know, combined and then move down into that, into the touch. But if you touch something, it's instantaneous. You don't have to think about it. It's right there.
Right.
And how do we store our
Is
energy?
that the Reiki thing too? Does the Reiki have a lot to do with moving energy?
Yeah, we could discuss that also, because that's all the forms of this esoteric, the healing work, which I'm certified. I don't know if you are you certified in any modalities? I'm certified in a list of different types of modalities, and it's energy in our hands. This could be for everybody. Do this, Linda.
Yeah, I've done that.
If you do this,
Yeah.
right, and then you go like this, you could feel it.
You can feel the
And this
magnetism.
is, yes, and I believe there's the lengths of energy is either short or long energy waves.
Yeah.
You know, it's short or long, and a lot of times people do, you know, with healing, you do distant healing. So sometimes you don't have to be right in front of a person, you know, one-on-one close proximity to really feel that energy force. And that's when we do our prayers or whatever, you send it out, and
Yes.
energetically it's felt. Correct.
Correct.
Oh, our energy stored in our bodies. You know what it's stored as? You know
What? Fat?
this. Yeah. So fat isn't bad.
No.
We need fat to move, and actually our brain needs fat. The brain needs fat, so fat isn't bad. Fat got a bad rap.
It sure did. It sure did.
But we need to consume, you know, the good fats, like, you know, avocado, even butter, and that, you know, the good olive oil and stuff, not the monounsaturated fats. No,
Which
the
is what I was
processed.
raised on. But you know, I was watching a show this morning. They even said breakfast is getting tougher for people because it costs so much.
Oh my God.
Eggs are expensive. Everything's expensive.
We always used to like to go out to breakfast, go to diner or whatever. For two people, at least over here, the minimum, it's like $50.
Oh yeah, the house of pancakes, or as my kids used to like to call it, the house of pancake. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
It used to be cheap.
Yeah. I mean, $50 for, you know, an egg and a cup of coffee or whatever, that's like crazy. So this is another great fact. Each cell in our body produces 1.4 volts of electricity, which doesn't seem like a lot, right? But when you multiply that, because we have 50 trillion cells within us, you multiply that in our body, we arrive at 70 trillion volts, equivalent to 70 billion lightning bolts.
Whoa.
Isn't that incredible? Um,
Yeah,
so I have a little story. I don't know what stories you have, but I worked at one time at a employment agency.
yeah,
So it was in the winter, fall, and I had a wool outfit on, right? And boots. So I get into the office and it's carpeted. So I go down, my phone's ringing in my cubicle way at the front. So I go down there and I pick up, this is the time where pre cell phones, we still had the corded phone, right? So I pick it up.
yeah.
Linda, I swear to God, this bolt came right through my jaw. I mean, it hurt. I blew out the whole, this is an agency. I think the first thing in the morning, I blew out the whole, we had no phones. I knocked them all out. So we actually the owner had to call the phone company out. The
Jesus.
engineers, they came out to the building, right? And they
And you
opened,
didn't do it deliberately. It was like,
no, I
whoa.
was running and the carpet got static electric, we all experienced static electricity, right? So the owner was very upset because I blew up, we couldn't work. We didn't have phone. I shut down the whole office. But
But he blames you.
the phone company people, they were chuckling. They said, we never never saw a human being knock out the phone system.
Oh my God.
And he had just dropped his insurance plan on it, so he had to pay for that. But that shows you the power, what we have inside of us.
Oh my God.
Um,
So did you ever do that again?
I don't think I would have had a job. No, I didn't do it again. But it made me very aware. And I mean, you've had that happen. I mean, I went to a parochial Catholic high school. And we had believe it or not, we had carpeting in the hallway, and we had to wear wool skirts. So in the winter, we would go and open up our lockers, right? Those big metal lockers, and you could actually almost see the static. It was like,
Oh, I believe it. I
you
believe
get
it.
you get that, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be very aware of that. And another funny story, and you could relate to this. One of my jobs, I was working part-time in a medical lab at night after I had my kids, So I would label, it was a lab that would go and pick up from doctors' offices, the blood that was drawn during the day or whatever, those places, right? And it would come back to our facility. And I was in a little cubicle with another tech, and we were labeling. This is back in the day, of course, before the computers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you had to do it. You had to physically write, name the name, give it a number, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so we're doing that. And there was this one doctor's office. He was a gastroenterologist, which they work with the gut and everything. And they would send, I know it sounds gross, stool samples. Okay. You all know what a stool sample is.
Yeah.
And they would put it in one of those red top tubes, that you draw blood out of. And it was filled up, it's awful to say, with poop. And we used to laugh. We'd go, how the heck do you get the poop in the tube?
Like putting
And then
toothpaste back in
seal
the
it.
wall.
And then seal it, right? So we always used to chuckle while we were doing it. So we're labeling all these things. We're sitting in the little cubicle and we're sticking stuff, after we labeled it, right? So it was a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes goes by. And all of a sudden the other tech, she looks at me and she goes like this, And I go, we start looking at each other like, and we smell and we go, what the heck? And we look up on the shelf where it was in the gas from the poop. I'm talking about this because it's pertinent to our physical energy. The gas in the tube with the poop blew the lid off and the poop went all over. We were so hysterical. We were doubled over. I laugh at everything. We were laughing. I was crying. And the other techs were coming out. We went away from the cubicle. The other techs were coming over. We went like this. And they went in, they went, oh my God.
Well, as you know, a body will explode from the gas left over when it's dead. And the pressure, I had a guy with cancer that had suffered he had colon cancer. And some of that pressure built up on the side of his higher colon, and it literally blew through his skin, and blood and everything went flying out.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of pressure in that. Just like I was telling you earlier when we were talking, as the mother gets, there was a movie made by called, what is it? The actress is blonde and she's married to the guy from Saturday Night Live.
Well, I'm so bad with
She's very
get
pretty.
names.
Anyway, she did this movie and it was about that chemical that women, when they're pregnant, have that
Oh, I
creates
read
life.
about that. Yeah.
And it is powerful stuff. And it's a lot like they said if you could put that like on Earth as some sort of gauge for something, it was unbelievable that women's bodies can hold that kind of pressure in creating life.
The life force that comes through, right?
Yes.
And there's, and you know, and we still have to say again, there's mysteries to it. There's that mystery
Yes.
component that puts their, if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, puts the finger
Yeah.
in and ignites that. You know, you're talking about that because I had something down here about spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
That bodies.
Oh, that is so interesting.
Is that true? I mean, I looked it up and it said that people could combust. I remember
The
reading.
movie's called Lucy, you guys, FYI.
What
But
is it
yeah,
called?
people, I've seen that where you can see their feet perfectly in shape and only the area where they were sitting and they just caught on fire.
Oh, you actually witnessed it?
No, you look, Google it. Google
Okay.
spontaneous
I thought from your
combustion.
medical background, you actually saw
No,
it
they were
happen.
like unsolved mysteries and all that. They would show the cameras going in the place and it wouldn't burn down the place. It would just burn like the chair they were sitting in. And
I
you
had
could see
seen
their
that
feet with
also.
their
This,
shoes still
I
on.
haven't heard about that recently, but I heard about, and some say it wasn't true. But they showed, or they talked about a man that they found, and yeah, his whole inside, the middle, where he was lying in bed sleeping, explode. You know, did that? It happened, combust. I was reading. It said that if a person, you know, alcoholism, diabetes, different combinations of things could.
I'm sure it's building up
that.
something in your blood.
Well, as you know, being in the medical professional also,
Yeah.
and I'm sure our listeners could relate to this also, you could get a gas pocket in your body that's so severe you end up in the hospital if you can't move, if it gets lodged in your colon along its path and it stops.
Yeah. Maybe they don't combust, but they catch on fire. But I know a man who he was still alive and I know because I was his nurse, and he literally blew open the side of his body and out comes feces and blood and everything from the pressure.
When do you think most people have a decline in their energy, physically in their energy? When do we start feeling a decline in our energy?
Well, you can keep it going, but we do age. When I first had cancer and didn't know I had cancer, I started feeling really tired.
But what do you think? I mean, just the common average person, what age do you think we are when we start getting a decline?
I hear people start really taking naps after the age of 70.
Guess what it is? I can't believe this, mid-30s.
What?
You start getting a physical decline in your energy in mid-30s.
Well, they on the news today, they were talking about, what do you call, not the change of life, what do you call when you become
menopause?
No, I'm talking about males and females. Boys, when they're 10, start becoming a man.
Puberty.
Yeah, but you know, puberty for boys can last up to age 30.
That what?
That their brain is actually able to comprehend as a grown man would.
What, when they're young?
Women are earlier.
Oh, there's a difference in, so for them to reach it, they're age 30?
It can go, some are before that. It can go up to age 30. I know several of them.
Yeah, women have it.
Women tend to.
That's because, you know, our bodies were designed, not that everybody has, but to have children. So you probably have to be
and
more.
And then also, when you have children, let me tell you, it's a horse of a different color. You need to help those children, because when I had my two boys, their father was an alcoholic. So, and I was a nurse, and I couldn't trust him to watch those kids, because if he's drinking, he wouldn't be on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
It's scary. So you do have to work hard to take care of them babies.
So what are the big energy drains of people? And the big one is sleep.
If we don't drains or it helps?
Well, if we don't get enough sleep, it'll drain.
I believe that.
It'll drain our physical energy.
Yes.
And the other big depleter for physical energy, and I think this is going to be across the board for each one of these, is stress.
Oh.
stress.
And
and then-
they give numbers for that. Stress of a divorce, stress of even a marriage, of buying a house or selling a house. They give the numbers, and it can be tough. Children are really going through a lot of stress right now. It's so sad.
Well, the world is going through so much stress.
And energetically, it's so hard for me to see my kids, because as soon as I bought this house, we started with the Armageddon fires. Fortunately, we weren't hurt. But I worry about my kids. One thing, if they just sort of roll with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
More so than I did. I'd lay up nights. They kind of just go with whatever they need to do.
So speaking about, I'll bring another story. I don't know if you have any stories about physical energy, what it has done for you, or stories around it. I worked for an engineering company, one of my jobs when I was in sales. And so we would get calls from different companies. I worked with Disney. We sold stuff when Mount Helen erupted. We had a heat measuring device to measure at a distance the temperature. It was temperature instrumentation. That's what we sold, temperature instrumentation. So it's taking temperatures and that. And I was inside sales, and we work with engineers. They were at another desk, and we could do joint phone calls. And so I had this phone call one day, and I don't know if it was from a college or whatever, and they were doing an experiment, a human experiment, where they had the person, and they were putting these little, what were called thermocouples. A thermocouple, you even have them like in your air conditioning unit. It switches on. It's a reader to when it has to go on and off. It's like a switch thing, okay? So they were using these, which we sold, thermocouples, to put on people. They were putting out parts of the body, and the temperature would be connected, and they had it to play a music box. Strange things people would come up with that I would hear. It was kind of fascinating. Right. So this person this engineer called our company to talk to engineer and me in sales to see what they would buy, the best thing to adapt for this to happen, and where they would put the placement of these probes. So I'm sitting on one end, the engineers on the other one. We're looking at each other. I go, well, I guess you put it in the hot parts of the body, under the armpit. Yeah. I don't have to tell you the other parts. Yeah. It got to be kind of funny. But that shows you also what our body gives off, that energy, the physical part of that energy. So it's pretty interesting.
I'll say. Well, my story would be walking down a path. It's a long story. As you know, I'm a psychic medium, but we're not going to talk about that here.
Well, it ties into you. It
ties into my story is that I was walking and praying and begging the higher realm not to take me because I had a bad form of cancer. Please let me live because my children need their mother. They were still young. I'm walking down this path with no breasts and no hair. And as I prayed, I heard a man say in my right ear, "What are you doing? You know there's no such thing as death." And in that, it startled me. And I said, "Oh my God, you're right. How embarrassing. I can't believe I said that." And in my energy, I literally put out, "Into thy hands I commend my spirit," almost like that movie of Jesus Christ, "Into thy hands I commend my spirit," because no matter what, if I die or if I stay, I know everything's going to work out. It's going to be okay. And when I said that, in that moment, something so profound happened to me. It'll be in my book. That it was like something came down and went through me. I could feel it physically go through me. I know people have had ghost encounters where they can feel something. Mine was so powerful that for 2 days, I was like, I couldn't eat. If I can't eat, something's wrong. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. And I was fearing touching like a power outlet that I'd blow it. That lasted for 2 days. And after that, my life changed because then the messages were more profound. And it was not about standing on this earth worried about who likes you or who doesn't like you. It's about being alive in the moment.
Exactly.
So
that's a profound story.
Yeah, it's really, it changed me forever.
Yeah. Another topic down the road that we'll be talking about is at one of these episodes not now, not this month, but when people have near-death experience, it
Oh, yes, I
changes.
can't wait for that
We're
one.
electromagnetic field. So this
Yes,
goes to the physical also. So it
yeah,
charges, we're charged up, down, whatever. And people after they have near death, they'll blow out light bulbs, things change, but we're not going to deviate and get off into that because
yeah.
that's a
Stay
whole
tuned,
nother,
you guys. We got a
that's
lot
a
of fun
whole,
stuff coming up.
yeah, we have a lot. And we're going to have, as we said before, we're going to have guest speakers on different topics that
Yes, I
have
love
more
it.
knowledge with this. So I think it's almost time.
Okay,
Okay, so just to encapsulate what we talked about, as far as this is our physical energy. So you balance, because this, our whole thing is beacons of balance. It's about balancing, right? If our physical is off one way or another, we're either too energized, or we're depleted, we don't have enough energy. We want to be right here. So balance your energy, and for the physical, with good relationships. You want to have good relationships. You
but
want
may I say something? I have to
Sure.
interrupt you on that.
Okay.
You have to have a good relationship with yourself. Other
Yes.
outside energy forms, I don't care if they're the best person in the world, do not define you. You can't say, oh, go out and have good relationships. There's no such thing. Have that solid relationship with yourself, and the rest is nothing.
The rest will come to you. But
Yeah,
what I'm saying with it is, as we interact with people, I'm not saying go out and seek, as
yeah,
we interact, people that drain you physically,
yeah.
okay, you have to realize you don't have to lay down and be dormant and be somebody's doormat for that. So you
Yeah.
choose, that's where your balance comes in. So have a good relationship. Yes, it always begins with us
What begins
first.
with you?
The other one is be aware of what you're putting in your body. Vibrant food, alive food. That means fresh fruit from the market,
Yeah, but
going
that's
back
hard for
to,
some people because it's expensive.
it is hard for some people. That's why a lot of people are going back to growing gardens. I mean,
Yeah.
look at what the ones before us, our families, and that what they did, right? I'm sure your
Oh,
family
yeah.
did it. They had, in back when there was the war, it was called the Victory Garden, where they
Yeah.
grew, because they couldn't get the staples, their basic needs. So going back to that, having a good attitude, right? Looking at things, your lifestyle, your sleep, getting a proper amount of sleep. And stay away. We'll talk about this more in another next episode, and that we'll be talking about is stay away from energy vampires. People are out there that suck your energy big time.
We'll give you the signs later.
And I'm going to say, remember, as you said, love, 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 love. And it starts right here. You start with yourself.
Starts within you.
And that's where
And
your relationship
and
is.
get out of your own way, you guys. Some people will say, well, how do I obtain these things? Ask your higher realm, and be quiet and listen, because we're all so busy moving so fast. In the silence, they will speak to you. Trust me, I've seen it, I felt it, I heard it.
So we'll be talking, the next topic we'll be talking on is our emotional energy. That will be the second part of this. So we gave an overview of energy. We spoke the first one about our physical energy. The second one that we'll be speaking on the next episode or next week will be our emotional energy.
Sounds good. So remember to be the change you want to see.
And as always, from our hearts to yours, be it in balance, love, and peace.
And if you don't know how to get there, ask.
We love all of you, and we're sending that energy out to all of you. I love you, my friend.
Love you.
Be well.